Imagina esto. Estás en una reunión con colegas internacionales. Uno de ellos toma la palabra, presenta su idea y no usa palabras complicadas ni frases súper avanzadas, pero sus ideas fluyen una tras otra como si fueran parte de un mismo hilo invisible. Suena natural, suena convincente, suena profesional. Y luego te toca hablar a ti. Tienes buenas ideas, buen vocabulario, buena gramática, pero cuando empiezas, tus frases suenan un poco entrecortadas, como piezas separadas de un rompecabezas, técnicamente correctas, pero sin esa fluidez. La diferencia no siempre está en el nivel de inglés. Muchas veces está en cómo conectas tus ideas. En episodios anteriores ya trabajamos en detalles clave. En el episodio sobre adjetivos y adverbios vimos cómo elegir la forma correcta puede transformar el tono de tu mensaje. En el episodio sobre negación exploramos cómo decir no con claridad y diplomacia. Hoy vamos a dar un paso más. Vamos a trabajar en connectors, las palabras y frases que te permiten unir ideas de forma lógica y fluida. Cuando los usas estratégicamente, tu inglés deja de sonar como una lista y empieza a sonar como un discurso bien construido. All right, let's dive in. Think of connectors as the invisible bridges between your ideas. They don't carry the main message, that's your content, but they shape how that message is delivered. They guide your listener, create structure, and give your English the kind of flow that professionals use every day. We'll explore 5 essential functions of connectors. For each one, I'll explain why it matters, show you key connectors you can use, and then give you before and after examples so you can really hear the difference. Adding information. Why this matters. In professional contexts, you rarely make just one point. You build an argument, layer information, or present multiple benefits. Connectors for adding information help you expand ideas smoothly without sounding repetitive or robotic. Some useful connectors include and, obviously, also, besides, moreover, in addition, or what's more. These words and phrases let you stack ideas logically so your listener follows your reasoning step by step. Let me show you what I mean. I'll give you a before version, short, separate sentences, then I'll show you how those same ideas sound when connected naturally. Before. We finished the report. We sent it to the client. We scheduled the presentation. And after, we finished the report and we also sent it to the client. Moreover, we scheduled the presentation for next week. Here's another quick one. Before, the product works well. It's affordable. And after, the product works well. And in addition, it's affordable. Did you notice how the connectors create flow? Same ideas, different delivery. One sounds flat, the other sounds like a professional update. Contrasting ideas. Why this matters. In meetings, you often need to show balance, raise concerns, or express disagreement tactfully. Contrast connectors allow you to do this clearly and diplomatically instead of sounding abrupt or confrontational. Some go to connectors are but, however, on the other hand, although, even though, and whereas. Using these helps you signal nuance, showing that you can hold two ideas in tension, a critical skill in professional communication. Let's look at this in action. Before, the idea is good. It's expensive. And after, the idea is good. However, it's quite expensive. And another example, before, the plan is ambitious. It might not be realistic. And after, the plan is ambitious, but on the other hand, it might not be entirely realistic. Notice how contrast connectors soften the transition and make the message more balanced. Sequencing and structuring. Why this matters. Whether you're explaining a process, giving a presentation, or telling a story, your listener needs signposts to follow your logic. Sequencing connectors provide that structure. They're like a roadmap for your audience. Useful connectors in this category include first, then, after that, finally, to begin with, and next. These are especially helpful in presentations and project updates. Here's an example. Before, we analyzed the data, we drafted a proposal, we presented it to the board. And after, first we analyzed the data, then we drafted a proposal. Finally, we presented it to the board. And one more. Before, we'll introduce the product, we'll answer questions. And after, to begin with, we'll introduce the product. After that, we'll answer any questions you may have. With sequencing connectors, your speech gains clarity and rhythm, making it easier for others to follow. Explaining and clarifying. Why this matters. In professional communication, you often need to explain causes, justify decisions, or clarify points. Without connectors, your explanations can sound abrupt or incomplete. Some useful connectors here are because, since, due to, in other words, that is to say, and for example. They help you link reasons and explanations smoothly. For example, before, the project was delayed. The supplier didn't deliver. And after, the project was delayed because the supplier didn't deliver on time. And another, before, the numbers look strange. They're not accurate. And after, the numbers look strange. In other words, they're not accurate. Using explanation connectors gives your speech logic and flow and prevents your listener from having to fill in the gaps themselves. Summarizing and concluding. Why this matters. Good communication isn't just about starting well, it's about landing your point effectively. Summarizing connectors help you close discussions, presentations, or arguments with clarity and authority. Some useful connectors in this category include in short, in summary, to sum up, all in all, and ultimately. These phrases help you signal the end and highlight the main takeaway. Here's what that looks like. Before, we need to act now. After, in short, we need to act now. Or, before, we reviewed everything. Let's make a decision. And after, to sum up, we've reviewed all the options. Let's make a decision. Summarizing connectors give your speech a clean, professional finish. When you start using connectors intentionally, your English changes. You stop delivering isolated sentences and start delivering coherent, structured ideas, the kind that stick. Once you tune your ear to these patterns, you'll start noticing how native and fluent speakers use connectors constantly, often without even thinking about it. Los conectores son las autopistas de tus ideas. Usarlos bien no es adornar tu inglés, es darle ritmo, coherencia y profesionalismo. Cuando tus frases fluyen con naturalidad, tu mensaje se vuelve más claro, más convincente y tú suenas como un verdadero pro. Si este episodio te resultó útil, suscríbete para no perderte los próximos episodios. Y si quieres practicar más, puedes solicitar el documento Adéntrate en el episodio con ejercicios adicionales visitando beingles.ca. Thanks so much for listening. See you in the next episode.